What is going on, fishy friends? Rich here, Rich's Fishes, and let's follow along while I walk around and talk to myself in the fish room. So guys, here's what we got. It's been another busy week. Today is Tuesday, if I'm recalling correctly. Not exactly sure when I'm actually going to get around to posting this video, probably before the end of this week. Got another busy week, another very long weekend. Getting a lot of work done in that kitchen. Got that remodel going on. I got the sheetrock hung this week. Sheetrock or drywall? What do you guys call it where you live? I'm still not sure if that's a geographic term. Sheetrock versus drywall. Spackle versus mud. Spackle versus joint compound. I'm sure a lot of you people couldn't care less about that. But anyway, got a lot of sheetrock hung this weekend. Started mudding up the walls. Got a little bit of that done and ran out of time. Then the work week started, so back to the normal grind. Finally got down into the fish room last night. I hadn't been down here since probably Thursday night, in all honesty. I was so busy working on the kitchen, I didn't even get a chance to come down here and check on everything. So last night I really gave everything a good once over. I got a whole lot of water changes done. And tonight I'm going to kind of just sort of monitor what's going on with everything. See what needs to be done in the future. Take a look at some disgusting algae-ridden tanks that sort of disgust me to look at, but they're healthy. They just don't look so nice. And I figured I would take everybody along for the ride while I walk around and talk to myself. I don't know if you can see the output from my hang-on back filter over there. It's down to a dribble because I have not done any filter maintenance in a while. I got plants growing out of the top of the filter. I got algae all over the place in the filter, and everything is just so gummed up that that's the best flow I can get out of that thing right now. So that's a good lesson why you should not ignore regular maintenance all that often. Otherwise, you could have some issues. What just happened? I just lost half of the lid into the tank. Who sees that there? Bloop. That's no good. I gotta be real careful with this too, because these DIY lids that I made, while they work fantastically, they do have some sharp edges, and for the most part they're hidden by the trim here, but the trim is just what detached from the tank. And trying to do this one-handed is maybe not the best idea, so I'm going to put that down and fix it when I have two hands. Let's see. So, time for me to start feeding some fish, and I think this is as good a time as any. Here's my, whoa, I just spooked them when I hit that. Here's my vinyl gutter system that I use to hold some fish food. And what I do is I repurpose old cans. You can sort of see some black marker that I had on here that says this was blackworm flake. They used to be bloodworms, theoretically, from Omega-1. Finished this can years ago now. And what I do is I save the cans and I refill them, and actually, it looks like it's time for a refill on that one. And, alright, you know what? I'm going to refill all the food and include the feeders in that little job. So we're going to come over here to what I'll call the supply room. And let's see, let's go to the fish food section, which is this bucket here for the most part. Yeah, that's pretty much all my food. I'm going to move this thing now before I knock it off the wall and get upset. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bucket with me. I'm going to back out of the tiny corner of hell and move over here into the slightly larger corner, which maybe isn't so hellish. So if we open this thing up, you'll see this is where I keep my various flake foods. I like buying flake food from Ken's Fish, and I buy quite a lot at a time because I do go through quite a lot of food. This is a half-pound bag of beef heart flake and the various other types of flake, but that's the size of the bag that I buy, and I go through a decent amount of these things. I've also got earthworm flake, another bag of unopened beef heart flake. This is some spirulina powder that I used when I was trying to raise up some brine shrimp. Got angelfish flake, premium tropical flake, more blackworm flake, bloodworm flake. I got Australian freeze-dried bloodworms, blackworms. I'm going to have to go contact Al Sabata from the Simply Discus forums so I can go buy some more of that. What else we got in here? We got some Ken's Fish Ultimate Cichlid bits. I've never even opened this. This was a freebie that he threw in with my last package. Here we got some fry food. I've never even opened this yet either. But for now, what was I going to do? I was going to start filling up my cans and everything like that. So let me go grab my tripod and see what I can do. Alright guys, so here's what I do. I take my empty can, I make sure I figure out what I had been using here. Like I said, this is blackworms. So I got to find the bag of the blackworm flake, bloodworm, blackworm. Now I fill the can, now I got a nice full can of food, and I'll leave that over by the tank over here, and then the next time I need to feed, I can just grab it and go. Now let's see what else we got. Now similarly, I use other recycled cans for other types of food. This was initially some Hikari freeze-dried bloodworms, and I wrote flake on there because I end up filling this with with bloodworm flake food from Ken's Fish. This one is almost just about empty. I'll bring it over here so we can load it up. In an old Tetra color flake can, I got the earthworm flake. I believe this one's just about empty too. Close enough, I can definitely fill it back up. I try to feed a variety of foods. I don't really have much of a rhyme or reason as to when or why I feed certain things, but I do think that fish, just like humans and anybody else, probably gets bored of the same thing day in, day out, so I try to change it up a bit. I'm really enjoying these foods from Sarah. I've never dealt much with them. I believe they're European. I think they're a German company, actually. Yeah, made in Germany. And these are pretty cool. These ONIP treat tablets. Just like it says, it sticks to the glass. It contains a variety of different foods, and they're little nuggets, pellets, discs, I guess would be the good way to call them. And what you do is you stick them to the glass. I'll shove it down here. And slowly but surely, the fish find it, and the fish love it. They go crazy for it. So these Ceratabs are great things. Let's see, in the old Omega can, I got some of the tropical flake from Ken's Fish. We'll bring this one over here so we can fill that one up. You'll have Spectrum pellets. This isn't quite yet empty, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed this, if I can open it with my one hand, over here in the Planet 55 gallon angelfish tank, where I got to fix the lid. We'll drop some food in there. And if there wasn't a glare, we could watch the fish eat. And what I do here is I reuse one of my old Australian blackworm bags. This was a 200-gram bag that I bought, and the next purchase that I made was a giant bag. I forget what the size of this one was. Let's see, was there a tag on this one? There was. This was a 500-gram bag, which has lasted me, you know, a good number of weeks. It might have been about 3 months now. These Australian blackworms are not cheap. The more you buy, the more you can save. You know, buying in bulk definitely helps a little bit, but they certainly aren't cheap when it comes to fish food. And I end up using a lot. Over here, I got these discus pellets from Cobalt Aquatics. That Discus Hans approved logo suckered me in. This stuff sucks. My fish don't like it. I got this giant bag of it. Nobody touches it. I can't stand that stuff. Let's see here. We got the angelfish flake. Technically, that is actually kind of full. So I'm going to leave that one alone, grab a little bit, and throw it up here into this algae-ridden tank with the one silver angel. There you go, somebody's hungry. Again, I haven't been down here all too much recently, which means I've skipped a couple of feedings here and there, so I'm not surprised to see that fish look like he's starving and jump up there and gobble it up. Here in an old Tetra can is where I keep the beef heart flake, which that's not so empty either, so I'm going to keep that one full. We'll throw a little bit in the Endler tank, a little bit in some of the Epistos. This Endler tank, as I've said recently, kind of got a bit out of control. The population exploded, and you know, there's hundreds of Endlers in this 10-gallon tank, and I added that hang-on back filter, which presumably is helping the conditions in the tank. But just yesterday I did find a good 6, maybe 8 dead adult female Endlers in here. And as some people have suggested, I really should probably move the Endlers over into that 30-gallon tank where the angelfish is. And I probably will do that soon. I got a lot of different reasons why I have or have not yet, and I don't know, now I'm kind of going through the reasons in my head. It's not the right thing to talk about during this particular video, but there are some reasons why I have or haven't done things, and one of the biggest reasons is simply the lack of time I've had recently due to being so busy with that kitchen remodel. Part of the reason why I haven't yet moved them over is because I want to add another 40-gallon breeder up there on that rack where the 30-gallon is now. Now, if you see, the 40-gallon sticks out a little bit further than the 30-gallon does, so I'm going to need to modify this rack. I'm going to have to take down the vinyl gutter, add at least one more 2x4 in the front, redo the shelf on the top, and then I can add a 40 breeder up top. But before I do that, I do want to drill the 40 breeders and add bulkheads to them. Even though the fish room isn't quite yet set up for the automated water changes yet, I want to have the bulkheads in the tanks and drilled before I fill them with water and fish, because I don't want to have to break them down in the next 60 to 90 days, empty them, remove whatever fish I put in them, just so I could drill the hole and add the bulkhead and then refill it again. So part of the reason why I'm dragging my feet on that aspect of it is because I've been dragging my feet on other aspects of it, if that makes any sense. I'm kind of going round and round in circles with excuses, but there's a method to my madness, I promise, even if I don't understand it myself yet. Once the projects are all said and done, then everything's going to make sense. But one of the things I am contemplating in doing when moving some of these Endlers is potentially trying to separate out the males. I wouldn't mind having a tank full of males and just seeing that population of male Endlers grow, because the males are really stunning, and I could probably go into a local fish store with a bag of only males and sell them in a second, whereas the females, you know, I mean, they're kind of drab and kind of boring looking, and the males, if you can see the bits of color on them, and the males are beautiful. That's not a great example of how colorful and beautiful these males can be. They're so difficult to capture on camera because of how tiny they are and how fast they move. But these black bar Endlers are beautiful in person. So let's see. Back over here, we're going to keep filling up a couple of cans of food. Make sure my camera's not going to fall. So we got bloodworms. Close out this bag. Actually, you know what? We'll take freeze-dried Australian blackworms first. I like using the cubes, which does result in a lot of fluff at the bottom here, which is nice too, because then I can go ahead and use some of the fluffy stuff and throw it into like the epistogramma tanks. There. Blue rams. These German blue rams. And then once I fill the big bag, once I fill the little bag from the big bag, I can leave the big bag out of the way and leave the little bag near the tanks where I'll need to use them. Type the bag, make sure everything stays fresh, and then it'll be good for the next time I have to fill it up. So what do we got here? We got bloodworms. So I make sure I match, use a bag of bloodworm flake to go into the can that used to house bloodworms, and I'm rehousing different kind of bloodworm food in there. Now that's full and ready to go. Earthworm flake. Same process, rinse, lather, repeat multiple times until end results are achieved. Over and over. And it's funny, when I first started buying these big bags from Ken's Fish, I thought I was going to have enough fish food to last me the rest of my life. And I've already had to order more than once. It's amazing how much food you end up going through once you start really keeping a lot of different tanks and a lot of different fish. Tropical flake. tropical flake is just a mixture of various other kinds of Ken's flake food. I like his premium flake. It's been recommended to me by lots of people who have had good luck using his food. I know some people, you'll find somebody that doesn't like everything out there sooner or later. I know some people don't necessarily love it. I've had good success with it, so I'm going to keep using it. Besides filling each and every can, I'll also fill up my automatic feeders. I like these Eheim feeders quite a lot. There are others out there. I've honestly not tried many others, but these have always had good reviews, and I've had great luck with them. I have quite a few. So this is going to go onto the juvenile Tiger Turk discus tank, which typically I try to feed predominantly beef heart flake. I will mix in some blackworm and some earthworm and stuff like that sometimes. I think this time we're just going to fill it with beef heart and call it a day. I like to shake it up a little bit, break up those flakes as much as I can, and on the discus tank I pretty much leave it wide open. Pop it back on, and then it goes on to the handy dandy Eheim platform, which I thought was the biggest waste of money when I first saw it. There's this platform and then this little clear cup, and the clear cup goes down into the water. This thing is fantastic, especially if you use Eheim feeders and try to leave them on top of your tank lids and have ever had a problem where potentially you might have knocked a feeder into the fish tank and ruined it, which I've done a few times. This little Eheim feeder platform thing is fantastic. I absolutely love it. I think it works great. And I should buy some more. I'm not sure why I haven't. So we'll go ahead, close up the bags. Get them back into the box. Then we'll go ahead and walk the box back over to the cramped corner in the supply room, the warehouse. What did I call it 2 minutes ago? The stock room, the store room, the warehouse, the supply room, the something room. And then I'll make sure I spread some cans out around the room. And the biggest reason why I do this is so that way there is some food near me when I'm near any tank, and I don't forget to feed the fish that way. If I'm staring at a tank and there's a can of food in front of me, there's a good chance I'll pick it up and drop some food in the tank. I like using the automatic feeders on my discus tank. I have one on the Endler tank. That one's going to need to be refilled as well. Now again, for no particular rhyme or reason, I use different foods in different tanks, like I said before. I use, let me find it. Where is it? I use, I think this is Hikari. The logo fell off. I'm sorry, Kioran? Nah, it's got to be Hikari. The Hikari micro wafers. For some reason, I like using this pelletized type food in the Endler tank. And this is not a full bag, so I'm going to need to buy some more. Since the pellet, usually I was using the micro pellets, not the micro wafers. This is the slightly bigger food. But the Eheim feeder, you can't close it off enough for tiny, tiny food, so I got to use a piece of tape around the top to make sure I don't dump too much food at once. And I do have to buy more of those micro wafers and the micro pellets. And we'll go ahead and put this back on the tank lid, which, like I said, is a risky proposition, but it works. You hit the button, it turns, and there you go. Drop some food. Endlers for days. I'm digging those things. Alright, so now this is garbage. We got some bloodworm flake. I'm going to bring this over and drop it a little bit into the German Blue Ram tank. And would you look at that? We got a proud papa bearing over some eggs right now. Maybe what I'm going to do is try to artificially rear these guys. Let me think about this. I've said this in the past. I'm still not quite set up for it because I'm an idiot. And excuse me, I'm looking up at my central airline system, because for me to artificially rear them, what I plan on doing is using a dip and pour container, one of these guys, filling it with tank water, hanging it inside the tank so it gets heated by the tank, taking that slate out of the tank and putting it into the dip and pour container and running an airstone into it. However, even though I bought all that new material from Gemco to expand everything, I haven't used anything yet. I haven't drilled any new holes and added any valves. So I think we're just going to let nature run its course this time. And with any luck, maybe those eggs will still be there tomorrow. Although, in all honesty, I don't have the highest hope, because they do seem to disappear quickly on me. Well. Now I'm having a mental argument with myself as to whether or not I should go just do the work and add an extra airline in. And while I'm thinking about it, we're going to drop a cube of blackworms over here and watch the juvies chow down. Whoop! They knocked it off the glass. And now they're going to play around for a while they try to figure out where it went. Ow! I can't get my hand on the lid. They'll find it. It's fine. We'll take some more and give it to them. I don't think there's a fish in my fish room that doesn't devour this stuff. Like I said, this stuff is expensive, but the fish love it. Absolutely love it. Australian freeze-dried blackworms. Even though I always call them bloodworms. And they're difficult to get. AquaticSuppliers.com. That's the company run by Al Sabato, who runs the Simply Discus forums. It's not necessarily an endorsement for him or his website or anything like that. It is an endorsement for the fact that he offers these Australian freeze-dried blackworms, and he imports them presumably from Australia. I guess I've never really confirmed that or anything, but throw some flake food in for the red covers. It's funny, these two, they don't devour food the way all my other fish do, specifically my discus. Maybe it's because they've been a pair by themselves in a tank for essentially their whole life and have never had to compete for food. But I've always found it disturbing, honestly, how their appetite doesn't seem to be nearly as great as some of my other discus. But I've had, oh man, I just dropped flake food everywhere. I've had the fish in that particular tank long enough to realize that there's not necessarily an issue. They've been medicated for parasites and bacterial infections and things like that. I've not seen anything get worse or any better with them. And they will eventually eat all that food. They'll just do so very, very slowly. Anyway, guys, I think that's about it for me tonight as far as filming. I'm going to go ahead and do a little more work down here and see what's what. Maybe I'll drill an airline. Maybe I won't. Alright, so I lied. I got motivated. I drilled one more drop, added in a valve. Got an airline going around. Got the specimen container here. Got the slate with the eggs in it. I got a drop of methylene blue, and I got an airstone running right over the front of the slate. Bringing some water flow over those eggs. And hopefully we'll see some activity there. I think I surely pissed off the male that was guarding that spot. I waited until he got distracted by another fish who he was trying to chase away. Looks like he's already chasing after another female. But now he just keeps going over to where the slate was on that bare spot of sand and acting as if he's still guarding the eggs. So the parental nature of cichlids and German blue rams in general is so fascinating to me. I mean, look, he is still trying to protect his eggs, even though the eggs aren't even in the tank anymore. I think that's pretty wild. So we'll keep an eye on this. This is a trial and error on my part. I am not 100% sure. I've seen some... Oh, man, I think that's a clue that it's time for me to stop working in the fish room. Once the timers start kicking off the lights, that means it's almost time for me to go to bed. It's got to be after 10 o'clock right now. So like I said, it's going to be trial and error for me as far as artificially rearing eggs of any kind. The breeder whom I purchased these German blue rams from, I think he uses this particular method. I'm not sure if there's a name for it or not. But using the specimen container within the tank that the eggs came from and within that tank water. So the tank and the heater are going to do the job that they've always done and keep this tank at a particular temperature of roughly 82, 83, somewhere between 80 and 83 is where I keep my German blue rams. So now I don't need to run a separate heater to keep the eggs at the same temp that they were before. Now the single heater will do the job of heating the tank as it normally would, and since I kept the eggs separate from the main tank but within the main tank, sort of floating in the main tank, they will still get the benefit of the heat from the main tank, and that'll be that. And I'm trying one of these, I think they're a Marina plastic airstone. I thought a smaller profile airstone would work well for this particular application inside the specimen container like that, which is really the only reason why I grabbed that particular kind. It does put out some relatively large bubbles. I hope that flow isn't too much for them. It's kind of turbulent in there a little bit, but I think that's about right. I think I just want to have water flowing over the front of the slate and essentially bringing water and oxygen over those eggs continuously so it doesn't stay stagnant. The same way a fish might fan eggs when they're carrying. Comment, rate, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Give me a thumbs up if you like what I'm doing. And come around next time for my next video. Thank you to all my new subscribers. Thank you to all my old subscribers. And I will see you guys later.